entertainmentbuddha.com.
Dun, da, 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 dun, da, da. Da, 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 wah, 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 da, 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 wah, 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 da, 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 wah, 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 wah. You know you used to love that.
Oh, dude, I was about to say, do you miss that?
Oh, of course I do. I mean, every time my daughter watches Boss Baby and the 20th Century Fox fanfare rolls, I'm like, man, you don't even know what you're missing.
Yep.
It's like,
yep.
I'm gonna force you to watch these movies, even if you don't take to them. That's okay, but I'm still gonna force them on you at some point. And the fanfare was like Pavlov's dogs for me.
Oh yeah, dude, that was almost as much a part of the opening theme as like the blast.
Of course. To me, I mean, now you realize seeing the Lucasfilm splash, but we didn't have that back on, at least me, when I grew up. I mean, on the original movies, they didn't show Lucasfilm. It was just fanfare, bang, 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 bang. You know, I mean, fucking the crawl and everything. It is Matt and Nick, and we are back for what seems like the 500th Star Wars Time podcast in a week's time. And that's because Disney decided to go, you know what? Hey, Matt and Nick, you guys keep talking shit on your podcast about Solo, and we're not sharing anything. Well, guess what? This week, we're going to open a fire hose and spray it down your fucking faces. Because, my friend, I mean, not only have we already recapped 2 trailers and some posters, but from the time we talked on Monday till now Friday night, we've gotten nothing but nonstop coverage from EW on Solo: A Star Wars Story. So, I mean, literally, it went from being the most mysterious Star Wars film to, yeah, by the way, we're in full-on promotional juggernaut style for Solo.
Yeah, they finally let the cast of this movie out of their fucking cages to go talk about it.
It's insane, dude. It is insane. I mean, covering it this week has been insanity for me. I mean, EW, I give them all the credit. I mean, I wish I worked there. I mean, I wish I was this Anthony Bresnik guy because they literally must have latched into Solo for a day or two. And they squeezed every little bit of information that they were legally allowed to disclose out of it.
Yeah, they got everything they could. They even got a hold of Alden Ehrenreich, who I didn't even know was a real person.
By text, by the way. I don't know if you read that. He was the only one that didn't do it, like, on the phone. Like, he only did it through IM.
Did that?
Isn't that crazy, dude?
That is crazy. I mean, he must be.
It was apparently because he was so sick his voice was fucked up, but it's like, what?
Yeah, still, I mean, it's not like you're recording or you're not doing ADR or anything like that. You're just talking to somebody for an interview, but like I feel like this guy Alden is probably as nervous as he's ever been in his life. You know, you have Han Solo movie coming out in May, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're going to have the biggest chunk of your career, the most important time of your career.
Oh, the biggest microscope of his career. Because I mean, let's be honest. I doubt many people even know who this man is.
Yeah,
I mean, I love the Coen brothers. I'm sure you appreciate them, but we love film, right? We love cinema. We're into that. We know the directors that are known for certain types of movies, and he really played a great character in Hail Caesar. He played essentially a dumb actor, which was kind of funny when we heard some of the rumors from Solo that he may actually be a dumb actor.
Yeah, exactly. So we thought there was a lot of conversation back and forth between us two. Like, man, is this dude just like not up to snuff? I mean, Hail Caesar, yeah, it was an entertaining movie. You got to, act with George Clooney and stuff like that, but it wasn't under the microscope that a Star Wars film is going to be under. And it wasn't seen by as many people as a Star Wars film is going to be seen by. So this is definitely his coming out party. And
of course, dude. I mean, this is no different than Prattland and Star-Lord. I mean, stuff like that where, guys have had careers. I mean, let's face it, Pratt had a lot of little roles.
Yeah.
But until he hit Star-Lord, I mean, that's where he's getting Jurassic World and Passengers. I mean, that all piggybacks off of that fucking Marvel role, which is very similar to, the Star Wars universe.
Exactly. So I hope that everything goes well for Alden. Yeah,
and really, I mean, in the trailers, dude, we did not bitch about him. I mean, outside of saying he doesn't look or sound like Harrison, I don't think either one of us said, "Oh man, he scares me."
No, he did his.
I think he had his moments. I think he had his moments.
Yeah, and we're talking about a total of what 2 minutes and 30 seconds of trailers that we've seen. Right. So, I mean, I'm sure once we get into it, he'll be just as good as we all expect him to be. He's not going to be Harrison Ford, which I think a lot of people just need to kind of get past. Like, all of us included, like, we just need to realize that this kid can't be Harrison Ford.
And I'm over it at this point. I've gotten over it. Now that I've seen it and just, it is what it is. I mean, there's really nothing you can do. So I'm okay. I think I can. Yeah. I think I can see past it.
Yeah. But before we jump into any of the solo news,
that was just a tease, people. We've got some other major news that broke this week that Nick's going to go ahead and introduce for us.
Yeah, so this new piece of news that was dropped by Disney right before the
like
EW articles came out. A day after,
we were like, oh, we're going to have an easy week.
Yeah, we're like, maybe we won't have to cast on Friday. We did Friday, then we did Monday. Maybe we can take this one off. But no, Disney dropping bombs left and right. The next one up was that the creators, the producers, the writers, the people who brought to life Game of Thrones on a TV screen for you will be helming and writing and producing a new slate of Star Wars films.
Crazy.
D.B. Weiss,
Crazy.
David Benioff.
Crazy.
So these two guys, yeah. I mean, if you're a fan of any kind of digital film media, TV media, these two guys, what they've done with Game of Thrones, being able to take George R.R. Martin's
massive books,
novels,
by the way, massive novels, like 400 plussers.
Masterful job that they've done bringing it to life on a screen for HBO and for everybody to see.
I still don't like, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, I still don't like that they decided to limit 7 and 8 because, and I enjoyed 7, but I mean there's so many arguments to be made for, man, they're really like fast forwarding through shit here.
Yeah, I don't know if there was something that HBO told them, like, "Hey, look, I know that this shit's like doing real good." Done,
or I mean,
yeah.
I almost think because they're artists, and we've talked about this for other things, but I almost feel like they're artists, and they're like, you know what, we're done with this. We want to get on the fucking Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that they didn't just find out about this Star Wars deal 2 weeks ago. Like, they've probably been in talks for a little while.
Yeah, and considering the popularity of Game of Thrones, I don't see HBO saying, yeah, let's try to end this as quick as we can.
No, definitely not.
So I do think it was them kind of saying, no, our story ends now.
Yeah, I'd like to see if there was any kind of, like you said, like money issue, because now knowing that Game of Thrones is pushed till 2019 and we're not going to have a season in 2018, I mean, maybe that was the thing. Maybe they were like, look, man, if we're going to do this and we're going to go out, we want to go out big, so, like, give us big money.
Well, every episode better be an hour and a half long.
Yeah, I mean, if you're only going to have 6 episodes, hopefully so, but the good thing about Star Wars land is there's no lack of money to be had at this point. Like, Disney is just, they've opened up a second, third, fourth, and fifth bank account because of the money that's come in from Star Wars.
At this point, Nick, and I'm never going to be one that is a proponent of this, but, I mean, can an argument be made that we're starting to get a little too exploitive of the license?
I mean, we talked about that on one other cast, and I was a proponent of, like, maybe slowing it down a little bit, maybe taking the cadence down.
I mean, let's rewind to a year ago. I mean, all we knew was, yeah, we're getting 7, 8, 9, and we're getting at least a standalone movie through 2020, 2021, right?
Yep.
And then
now
like towards the end of the year, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, Johnson gets a trilogy. And now early in 2018, they're like, these guys get a fucking as many movies as they want. I mean, they didn't even say a trilogy. They just said Star Wars movies plural.
Yeah, they said a new series of films.
What the fuck does that mean? Is that
what is a series of
what
films?
The fuck
Are we talking
like the next 9 Skywalker-like movies? I mean, what, these guys have free reign? I mean, what the hell is? There's no end here.
Here's an idea. We all know 2019 is going to launch Disney's streaming service. Do you think that the stuff that these guys could be working on could be, direct to Disney Netflix?
Right.
I mean,
that's very wise. I mean, that was a deep dive right there, Nick. And I think you might be on to something. This could be the you guys think you're okay losing our stuff on Netflix? You'll just buy a movie here and there when you want to see it. Well, by the way, we're gonna release exclusive Star Wars shit on it, you fucks.
Oh yeah, dude! Like that is the perfect way. You want to get people in.
You need to go. You need to fucking quit tomorrow and go apply at fucking Disney, dude.
I really do.
I mean, what the hell was that? That was like a brilliant fucking business decision right there.
I mean, to me, it's obvious. I'm sure that the brass at Disney has already thought of this, and I don't know if these two guys are going to be the ones to bring those movies to that platform, but I think those are the guys to do it. I mean, and I also think
even by then it will be commonplace because let's be honest, what Netflix and JJ did with Cloverfield Paradox was brilliant.
Yeah.
They're like, bam, out of nowhere, Super Bowl. Bam. Cloverfield 3. By the way, it's on Netflix tonight. Fuck off.
Right now, yes. Yeah, as soon as the game ends, go watch.
I was like, holy shit, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic plan. I mean, you have the biggest captive audience in the world watching the game, and then all of a sudden you drop the news about this movie.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we have a brand new sequel coming out tonight.
Yep, I mean, it was a fantastic way to do it, and honestly, people are going to come to the Disney streaming service for, the rumored live-action Star Wars TV show.
You're going to have to. I mean, everyone's kidding themselves, even if you're not a Star Wars fan. I mean, every Disney property outside of the fucking Netflix Marvel shit is gone once this kicks in.
Exactly.
Moana, gone. Mulan, gone. Hercules, gone. Rogue One, gone. Clone Wars, gone.
It's the perfect way, man.
Of course it is.
If you guys know what they've done with Game of Thrones, if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, they've basically been making
movies every week.
hour-long movies 10 times a year. So extend it out, another 30 to 40 minutes.
10-hour movies. They've made 10-hour movies for 6 years straight. Last year was reduced to like an 8-hour movie. And then the last year, hopefully, another 8-hour movie. So, I mean, these guys know what they're doing. And I think Nick could be dead on. And my point of bringing up Cloverfield Paradox is that I think by the time these are ready, that it's going to be normal for big time franchises to just roll out on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, that's
versus
the best
going
way
to theater. I mean, because of just the cost. I mean, the whole story around Cloverfield Paradox. I mean, I enjoyed it. I gave it 7 out of 10, which I think is something worthwhile for you to watch. That's my recommendation, by the way. But there's people who be like, this was a fucking disaster, and I don't get it. But there's also people going like, hey, Bad Robot fucking killed this deal because they're like they got $50 million from Netflix to essentially save it because they figured it would probably bomb in theaters.
Yeah,
and I think that's going to become a new model, not because I believe that shitty movies should end up on Netflix and Netflix is a fucking direct-to-DVD streaming service. I just think studios are going to be like, yo, fuck theaters, fuck all the promotion. We can still invest heavily into this production and make it look great, but cut out all the cost of delivering it to a theater audience and just going right to this fucking VOD.
Exactly. Like the overhead of having to distribute your movie to theaters is not there. You don't have to worry about like, oh shit, first weekend box office. If this fails, then everything's gone to shit. No. I mean,
you get paid automatically. Like, I mean, in this business model, they get paid the fee, and there it is. They've made their money. Like, they know day one when they sell it to Netflix if they made money, and obviously they're not going to sell if they're not making some cash.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the second big. Well, honestly, like really, the first giant success for Netflix direct movies was Bright. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I've heard.
I didn't enjoy it, but it's not like the disaster that the pros have made it out to be.
But like, it's done well enough for Netflix.
They're doing
where,
a sequel.
Yeah, like a week after it dropped, they were like, Bright 2 greenlit. Let's do it. Like, enough people watched it that quickly that they were like, hey, clearly this is content that our viewers will gravitate towards, so let's go again. I mean,
because it's so convenient, man. I mean, let's be honest, the whole binging culture originated from Netflix streaming because it's convenient. You can sit there with your fat ass on a couch with a remote in your hand and watch original content for hours on end and not have to move. And
I mean, me and you were talking before we kicked the mics up. You were talking about Altered Carbon and how it's like set a new standard for visual effects and
it's Blade Runner 2049 level.
Yeah, which is insane. I mean, when you think about that, and a lot of people will probably hear that
it's up for Oscars. I mean, that movie's up for Oscars because of its fucking VFX and cinematography.
Yeah. So don't worry. To me, like in my mind, you don't have to worry about like sparing expense because this is not like in this theory that we've put together that these films will go to the streaming platform. I feel like Disney would not spare any money because it's not going to a theater. They wouldn't be like, nope, you don't get 150 million, you get 75 million. They will give it the proper amount of money that it needs to look and feel like a Star Wars.
They know in the end they're going to make their money. I mean, as much as people tried to tear down TLJ and China rejected whatever, it still has made like 1.1 billion fucking dollars.
Yeah. I mean, it's made
Think about
more
that.
than
that movie might have cost 250 million maybe to make.
Yeah. They definitely came out on top very easily.
So yes, they're going to keep paying guys like DB and David and Ryan to keep churning out Star Wars movies because in the end, as much as you people want to hate on it, you still love it. You're still going to go see it. And all you people commenting like, hey, Star Wars has been ruined, the big mouse and blah, blah. I mean, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's just, it doesn't make any sense to keep
if
like,
you
harping
can't
on it.
If these same people can't sit there and go, but by the way, it was already ruined, then they don't even register in my mind. Like, they don't even deserve to critique the fucking franchise. Because if you can't honestly sit there and say that George Lucas didn't himself tarnish the fucking franchise, you're delusional.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people, and this is just the depravity of the internet, reading comments on Facebook and YouTube. I've seen people say stuff like, Episode 3 has the best plot of the entire...
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. That was something that I saw in Facebook comments, and I was like, come on.
I could do an 8-hour Nancy Pelosi filibuster on why Revenge of the Sith is the worst prequel movie.
Yeah.
And we've gone over it. There's no reason to get into it. I mean, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's not even worth, engaging in conversation with people like that. You just kind of have to move on. Everybody has their opinion, but some opinions are wrong. So yeah, dude, I'm excited for these guys. I mean, I don't know if this is gonna be what they do. I don't know if they're gonna use these two guys as a really good springboard for the new platform, for the new Disney streaming platform. I think it's an
ingenious idea, to be honest with you, because and even the way they phrase it fits. Because like I said, they didn't announce. Rian Johnson. They specifically said he's getting a trilogy. These guys are like, they're going to work on Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Not 3, not 2, not 1. Like, it will continue a series, series of films.
Nick's idea could work very well. I mean, they could just be making one-offs just for the streaming platform, or they could be, in charge of the narratives for other Star Wars movies that actually go to the theater. Either way, I'm down with it. I'm not one of these people that's going to sit there and say that Disney's killing it and they're oversaturating it. Because in the end, I love Star Wars. It's number one in my life. I'm fucking 37, and I am rewatching Clone Wars again. Like, I've just restarted season 1, and I enjoy it because I love the universe, I love the stories, and I will take anything they're willing to give me.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Disney makes the content.
As long as it doesn't suck. I mean, and I will tell you when something sucks. I'm not some fucking, rose-colored glasses fanboy asshole. I'm the one to tell you right now, 1, 2, and 3 are abominations that almost made me want to fucking give up my Star Wars love. That's how close it got. I mean, if it wasn't for the Clone Wars and then the announcement of the sale, I don't know if I'd even be doing a Star Wars podcast right now.
Yeah, it was definitely a big shift, the Disney acquisition. It really kind of brought life back into it. And you're right,
it rejuvenated me. It's like, all right, well, we're going to get another crack at this. We're going to get another 3 Skywalker movies. I love these movies are me. And that's why I was almost embarrassed of the human I became because of what I invested my time into, because of what happened from 99 to 2005. So don't tell me that Disney is ruining Star Wars. Star Wars was already ruined before Disney bought it.
They're injecting life back into it. So now we know for sure we have at least 3 films from Rian Johnson, his trilogy. So we already knew we were going to 2020. To me, you've now confirmed that we're out past 2020. If Benioff and Weiss...
Dude, we're 2030, 2040 at this point.
Yeah. I mean, depending on where the 2 new guys are going, the Game of Thrones fellas, if they're going to the theaters, then we're well into the late 2020s, I would imagine. And
don't you think that Disney at first kind of hedged their bet, and that's why they only announced the Skywalker trilogy and a few standalones? Because I think even they were like, I think deep down they're going, I'm pretty sure we just scored a major deal, but fuck, man, Star Wars was in a bad place.
Oh yeah, dude, there was no indication that you were essentially like you went to a farmer and you bought the most emaciated cow on the farm, and you were like, don't worry.
But it used to be the best cow. Like, it used to be the best cow, but the cow was, out of favor.
Yep. And Disney fucking bought that cow.
So, I think where all this shit's coming from. I mean, I do not think the Johnson trilogy was ever in the stars from day one. I don't think these guys' movies was in stars from day one. I think this is a reaction to, okay, we've rolled out Star Wars movies now for the past 3 years, and every one has essentially made us around $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want to live in a world where TFA was the movie that it was, but it was met with like not great financial success, because we might not be here. I mean, if TFA only makes whatever 550, 700 million, like, are we here right now, or are we still on that train of like, okay, well, we have this trilogy and then we have the Solo?
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're maybe not getting so courageous with their investments in just unknown projects.
Yeah,
I really do think their initial plan was to stick to the what is known. Like, yes, let's do another Skywalker trilogy, but let's also do these standalones, but the standalones have direct ties to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, but then when your first 3 movies bank over $4 billion, you're like, we have a little room to play.
Okay, I think we made the right move.
Yeah. So, in terms of plot details for the for the Weiss and Benioff spinoffs or series, there's none. The only thing that Iger said was they're focused on a point in time in Star Wars mythology. So apparently they have an idea. They
I'd love for them to get the old Republic. Yeah.
just please, man. I mean,
it almost makes sense.
work,
Even the fact that Iger even said that they're getting a specific timeline, I think that's almost like a nod to, okay, we're going to give them what you guys want.
Yeah, and like you said, those two guys doing it too is fantastic. I mean, we've seen
they can translate source material very well to live action.
Yeah, and just I don't know, man. There's just so much meat in the Old Republic that can be fleshed out, and just the way that it was in the past back then, the wars between the Jedi and the Sith, and it wasn't based around like political maneuverings and one faction being destitute while the other was in ultimate power. I mean, you had two powerful factions.
Well, yeah, I mean,
clashing.
you still had more than. I mean, the two Sith rule wasn't even in effect at that time.
No, that was far after. I mean, you're talking. I mean, Legends that didn't come around until the time of Darth Bane.
Speaking of, if you're a Sith fan and a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, we're getting the Sith raid, man. I don't know if you've seen this.
I've been playing it, but I haven't seen
a new Sith raid is being introduced, and it's going to be against the Triumvirate from Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Oh,
Nihilus, Mother, was it Teresa, or what was her name?
It was Tal.
Yeah, something T, and then
homeboy
Scion.
Darth Scion, yeah.
So that's pretty fantastic.
Dude, I have to say, playing against full Sith squads with Nihilus can be really annoying in that game.
Yeah, because he sucks everyone's protection out from the get-go.
Yeah, and then he has like he's got like a death mark on it.
Yeah.
Like a perma death mark that he can throw on some people, and then like they just lose life at the beginning or is that Mother Talzin?
I need to go play that game again, because I've played KOTOR a million times, but the second one I've only played once.
Yeah. It's, like Darth Scion as a character was so interesting because he was essentially like he was a dead.
He was dead, but the dark side wouldn't let him die.
Yeah, exactly. Like his hatred literally held his body together.
He's essentially a foreshadow of Anakin.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic.
Like the only reason
Anakin
lived is because of his hatred.
Yeah, and then Darth, like all the three Dark Lords from that movie, or not movie, I mean, way ahead of ourselves. But that video game was fantastic. Scion, Nihilus, and then, God, I can't remember her name. Jesus, it's killing me. I'm gonna look. We're on the internet, people. So
I like how I said Mother Teresa.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? I don't know if it's that. I don't think it's Mother Teresa, but
it's Mother
I like
T
where you're
something.
going. Yeah, let's see. The Triumvirate. V-R-A-T. It is Darth Scion, Darth Nihilus, and then Darth Treya.
Treya, that's right. Treya.
Yeah, and then her name was Cray. She was essentially like she turns on you, like she was your kind of like helping you along, and then you find out she's an evil person.
All right. Well, anyways,
if you haven't played it,
I mean, that game again is just. I mean, they pump up the updates and it's free. All right, so buddy, let's roll into the solo stuff. All right, so people, this would happen. I mean, literally, just last Friday, Nick and I were sitting here pining like, well, we're probably going to get the tease during Super Bowl and the Monday thing. There's been a lot of strong rumors, and yes, we got that. And by the way, we did a whole cast on that. You can check that out in the previous episode. But then we're like, oh, okay, well, I mean, is it just going to slow down from here? And no, it just, I mean, this past week has been insane in terms of solo news. Mostly because Entertainment Weekly had 4 or 5 dedicated pieces to the film. And that's what we're going to zero in on. So the first thing we actually got Alden Ehrenreich interviewed. And again, he wasn't interviewed in person or over the phone. He literally did IM. So like, I don't even know what that means. In the article, they're essentially saying that he was sick and couldn't talk, but whatever. And he did open up a bit on Han and some of the people Han interacts with in the movie. So it was still a good read, and I summarized it on entertainmentboo.com if you want to follow along. But basically, when he was asked, what is the journey Han is going to take in the movie? And Ehrenreich said, I think it tells the story of a young man pursuing a dream to get out of his pretty rough upbringing, which is interesting. And a lot of the story is him trying to make this dream come true, finding out that it's a lot harder than he had imagined. So, Nick, it kind of sounds like Han, like his future buddies, may have been an orphan who, didn't have the greatest of childhoods.
Yeah. I mean, now that we think about it, now that we go back and see what we, recap what we saw in the trailer, I mean, how many kids just hang out at a spaceport? Like, probably not that many who are from a good family. It makes sense because Han has always been kind of caught between these two worlds. This world where he doesn't need attachments. The only attachment that he needs is Chewbacca, his,
right.
Life debt, his lifelong buddy, his, best friend. And then also kind of, once he gets into the fray and meets Luke and Leia, there is this draw to the friendship, to the companionship. But you can see that he's resistant to it at almost every turn. I mean, especially in his relationship with Leia.
And I think that's, through all these interviews now, I really think that's what this movie's going to set up, is why is Han so guarded, but at the same time, he struggles to not be a good guy. Like, I mean, he wants to be a good guy, but at the same time, he's kind of guarded against it. And apparently it's going to be because a lot of these people we're going to meet in the movie. And each one kind of rubs off on them in a different way. But I think when it comes down to it, even unlike Luke and Leia, it sounds like Han basically grew up on his own but had no one. I mean, Luke still had Beru and Owen. Leia was a goddamn princess.
Yeah, I mean,
Han's just a little fucking dirtball on Corellia trying to fucking make ends meet, really.
Yeah, I mean, his life in the underworld could have started as as early as his childhood. I mean, we will find out in the movie maybe, but it seems like he was never in a position to where he was ever living a comfortable life, and that's kind of what he's been seeking out as a smuggler. Like, he wants to finally be able to not.
He wants to call his own shot. Like, he wants to be his own boss, and in the world he lives in, which again is oppressed by the Empire, but even in the criminal underworld, he's still oppressed by the people ahead of him. And it sounds like through these interviews that in the end, Han's ultimate goal is to become his own shot caller.
Yeah. I mean, he wants to get out under the thumb of anybody who, he can. I mean, he starts out probably under the thumb of the Imperial, order, the Imperial machine. Once he joins them, he gets out of there, and then he realizes that he's still not free yet. He needs to be at the beck and call of those who can provide him with jobs and make money and everything like that. So his ultimate goal, and I think that shows in A New Hope, is like they offer him that money. He's like, and that's when he turns to Chewbacca. He tells him, this money, basically what he's saying to Chewie is like, this money is what we've been looking for. Like, we get this money.
That's the exact look Harrison Ford gave that furry bastard. I mean, he looks at him like, because Obi-Wan essentially doubles the ante, right? When Han kind of
15.
Yeah, Han flinches. Whoa. He's like, yo, well, okay, well, how about we'll give you this now and then this when we get there, just so we can get this deal done. And Han looks at Chewie like, well, fuck, there's our Jabba money plus some cream.
Yeah, and that's
what he lives for.
Yeah,
he lives for the score because that's what he needs, because he always owes somebody something. And it sounds like these movies are going to show why he is that way, and why he is the Han who he is when we meet in A New Hope, and that's all we can ask for of this film.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we need to get to. And another good point that we brought up in our trailer cast was, like you pointed out, there seemed to be some sort of prior relationship between the character of Kira.
Oh yeah, and that
and
was,
Han Solo.
You and I, we speculated, and I think we made the right assumptions in the end. We basically said, like, yo, when we see this trailer, this is early in their lives, and it was confirmed in Alden's interview and Emilia Clarke's, because in Alden, he essentially says, yes, they've known each other for a long time, and I believe in Emilia's, like, they've basically been friends since childhood. The difference here is that it sounds like Kira kind of maybe more, she might be more affluential, or it's easier for her to assimilate into the the hoity-toity system that the underworld can be, or what it requires to survive and make a name for yourself in this particular era of the empire and, obviously the criminal underworld.
See, like, I'll make an analogy here for the Firefly fans out there that listen to this show, and the way that I look at the relationship between these two characters is almost similar to kind of like how Mal was, in that he was this scout, very similar to Han Solo, scoundrel. Yeah. He lived in the underworld and stuff, and then you had Christina, I can't remember her last name, Hendrix's character, Saffron. And she was the same type of person. She was a scoundrel, she was a swindler, but she could mix in, and she had a very easy time mixing in with the high-class society. And I mean, you remember watching the episode where she had essentially married some high society man and lived this second life and pretended to be this person that was affluential and has been in high-class society, for a good portion of her life. And that's kind of how I look at this Kira character, is that she is the same as Han. She is a smuggler, she is a swindler, she has lived in the underworld, but she is able to do that. She's able to make that transition, like you said, from
she's
the
way
underworld
better
to
than
to
he
the
is. She's way better than he is in assimilating into different cultures.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to one of the scenes specifically that we talked about when we saw Kira in that black dress, and it looked like she was at a very high-class party. And,
I think she, in the end, I do think, clearly, Amelia's interview, and we'll kind of get there, but it sounds like they are kind of a love thing, but I think in the end, she's going to screw him over.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of my thought, too, is like we need to get Han to a point where he feels...
he's going to be bitter and betrayed by females of power.
Yeah, I mean, if that wasn't the case, then there would be no reason for that, for the awkwardness and the hesitation to kind of move towards this relationship with Leia.
Of course. It's beautiful.
So, yeah, it's good stuff. And if we're going to keep moving on to, like you said, we talked a little bit about, her working better within the system of the underworld.
Yeah, let's just get to... I thought...
the Chewie quote was interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought his quote on Chewie was interesting, like you said, so go ahead.
Yeah, so when he was asked about, like, the relationship with Chewie, it was definitely a little different than we thought. He said, well, I think anyone you meet in these tough worlds... trust doesn't come easily, and both of them are very strong.
I don't like this.
Yeah, I mean, there was, like you said in your recap, this maybe changes the whole kind of circumstance around their meeting, because it was always put out. I mean, this is again, we're living in legends here, but it was always
and they
Han
have used legends or twisted them in the Disney movies, so this wouldn't be out of this world to think that they would use a legend for Solo.
Yeah, and I mean,
especially this one.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, a couple of the things that are considered legends now, I don't even really like, and this is one of them. Like, I still consider this a key and important part of the relationship between Han and Chewie, and it's that life that holds such.
It has to be
importance.
earned, man. I mean, it has to be Lando sacrificing his life to save Chewie.
Yeah, I mean, we could get there. Maybe we're not going to get it in the same way where it's like, Han frees him from servitude, from slavery. Maybe it's a different thing. Maybe Chewie was kind of in the underworld. Maybe Chewie was already kind of dinging around in that world a little bit, and then he meets Han, they meet up for this job, and then maybe something goes wrong. Maybe, like, Chewie on that train job, maybe, who knows, Chewie is in a position to where he's about to be killed. He's about to fall off this train, and Han, boom, saves his life.
Yeah, but I mean, I get that, and that would be okay, but I still think for the true love that Chewie clearly has for Han, right? I mean, we've seen this in film. You do not react the way Chewie reacted in The Force Awakens unless he loves this man.
Yeah.
And I'm not, don't be stupid. I'm not saying in like a gay way. Like, he literally loves Han like a family member.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a romantic relationship. It's like
I don't
a
see that
familial,
developing over him
relationship.
saving him on a fucking train job. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and I really do hope that they stick with the.
Yeah, I feel like Chewie has to look at Han as almost like his literally savior.
Yeah,
from destitute.
Yeah. It's just it's going to be odd, and hearing the way that Alden described it definitely makes me a little apprehensive too. I'm right with you on your kind of summation of it in the article. It is kind of hard to think of another way that could really fit that bill and maintain that level of reverence in that relationship. Because like you said, we've seen it in 4 movies. We've seen it in 4 movies, and it was powerful. It was, I mean, we all know that Han and Leia end up together in the end, but we all know that Han and Chewie were the relationship to last a lifetime. I mean, so it's gonna be, it's gonna be interesting to see how they spin it in this flick. I hope it still maintains that reverence, but it does kind of make me a little uneasy. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, again, we just have to wait it out, and I hope they handle it right. And I have faith that they will, but that just the quote was kind of odd.
Yeah.
So some of the other interesting quotes we got here, and this one I kind of appreciate, is that Aaron Wright confirmed that Han and Lando are meeting for the first time in this movie.
Yeah, and I also like how, I think this actually kind of confirms one of your theories too, that this L3 droid is actually probably Lando's.
Well, no, we get this in the Phoebe article. She explains it. L3 is actually a self-made droid, not as far as like she's a pimp. She's actually has built herself up from various parts, and she is more of a partner to Lando than a subservient droid like C-3PO or R2.
Yeah. It was kind of like an odd way for me to phrase it like that. Like, I didn't mean kind of like an ownership role, kind of like how...
Yeah, they're more they're more
R2.
Chewie Han than C-3PO, fucking Leia Luke type of deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, but previously when we were watching the trailers, we were kind of confused, like, is L3 with Hero
Yeah, exactly.
Or is L3 with
No,
Lando?
you're right, but it's confirmed she is Lando's buddy.
Yeah. So, like you said, the quote, Han and Lando meet in this film, and I meet L3. That was Alden talking about that. And then he was also asked about the relationship.
And I think this echoes what we said last week. Like, I don't think either one of us have ever believed that they were best buddies.
No, and that's kind of what Alden says, and he prefaces the thing by saying he doesn't want to give away too much. He said that's a very hard answer without giving things away, but I will say that the relationship is many different things as it is when you see them in the originals. So, like, yeah, I mean the original,
it's dead on to what we said. So again, we're geniuses.
Yeah, I mean, we've pretty much written this movie in our head, guys. We have it all figured out. Listen to our first cast. You'll get most of the important details from it.
Exactly.
But
speculation machine right here.
Yeah. So I guess in summation, they kind of wanted to get some ideas from Alden on the character of Han Solo. Not, kind of looking at it from an outside perspective, what his overall impression is.
And I think this is what we already touched on, so we don't really have to spend much time on this. But he's essentially saying Han's looking to get to a point where he's calling his own shots.
Yeah.
Like, Han just wants to not report to somebody.
What I thought was the interesting part about this quote, though, is at the end he says, the realities are harder and more challenging than he'd expected. So he could have, maybe he was like this braggadocious, really heavy.
Oh yeah, like a cocky asshole.
Yeah, and then he gets into these.
Oh, I think
jobs,
Beckett.
these high-level
I think
jobs.
Beckett's gonna check him because once we get to those articles, it's pretty clear that Beckett is not the one seeking out Han. Han's the one that essentially presses himself upon Beckett.
Yeah, like he's probably Beckett has probably been known throughout the underworld.
He is. Yeah, he's a known guy. I mean, he's not as powerful as Voss, but he's up there because, again, there's no real hierarchy. I mean, everyone's their own man in the underworld, but Voss is just more entwined with it. And Han's looking to get in with one of the big names.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think we pretty much hit the Alden stuff pretty well.
Yeah, another interesting thing that came out of that is it was revealed that Alden did meet with Harrison, and Harrison supposedly did give him some tips.
Yeah, and complete Harrison.
The best line. He essentially told Alden in the end, "Tell them I told you everything you needed to know, and that you can't tell anyone."
I mean, if that is
I
the
love
most
that
Harrison
guy.
Ford
I love it.
thing,
That's Han Solo. I mean, that's Han Ford, right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that just goes to show you that Harrison Ford was not playing a character when he played Han Solo. He was just playing himself. Like,
and I bet that's all he told him too. I guarantee it. He's like, "Oh fuck, let's go. Do you have your coffee? All right, cool."
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the fact that Harrison played himself in that character, just for Alden to be able to spend time with him and see how he is in person was probably enough. Just like, once Alden sat
they
down
go
and talked
on
to
to
him
like
for a little bit.
Kathleen Kennedy had a long comment essentially saying like, "Oh yeah, they definitely met and Han gave him all these anecdotes and stories and it really helped." And I'm just sitting there going like, "No, he didn't."
Yeah, I mean, like, and then we also went on to find out that Harrison also talked to Ron Howard about
just like I said. I mean, so he is very similar to Luke and Leia, except he didn't have any parental stability. I mean, he didn't have any parental type of figures.
He didn't have the benefit of an.
So I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's why he is like the Han you meet in A New Hope is a very fucked up person, right?
Yeah, I mean he's broken in a way, and you can tell.
At first, he's only in for the money. He discounts everything Obi-Wan is about. Like, the Force is for fools. You guys are fucking stupid. Luke, you're a dumb kid. Shut the fuck up. I'm Han. I'm the best. And he's like, where's this princess? Fuck, give me my fucking money.
And Chewie's always kind of like his moral compass.
Yeah, he is. He's like, shut the fuck up, asshole.
It's like, come on, man. Like, yeah, we got the money, but you we should be here.
He's like,
we should stick
quit
around.
being a fucking hard ass. Quit pretending. I know who you are, Han. You are right.
Yeah,
I mean that is Chewie. He's like, Han, quit being a fucking pussy.
Yeah, it's like this is where we need to be. And if you look at like you said, how the orphan, like being an orphan affected, Luke compared to Han. I mean, when we meet Luke, he's a very idealistic young man. I mean, he has his eyes to the sky. He wants to be a rebellion pilot. He wants to take down the Empire. He was the epitome of optimism and idealism.
Wasn't he looking to get into the same academy as Han though?
No, he wanted to join the Rebel Academy.
I didn't know if they ever made that distinction.
Yeah, because if you go back and
was it in the deleted scenes and Tashi when he's talking to Biggs?
No, he said that in the film, in the very beginning, when he's talking to Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, he says, I want to put in my, I guess it was implied. It's like, I want to put in my application to the Academy this year.
See, I just thought, because again, rebels are rebels. They're not like an official thing. I just thought that meant the Imperial Academy.
Well, I think I took it as like the Rebellion Academy because he mentions Biggs right away, and then we know that Biggs is a part of the Rebellion. So I don't know if
then I don't think Biggs was part of it. I think he was in the Academy and he defected. This is a conversation for another cast, but I think if we go back and look at it, I do believe that they're referring to the Imperial Academy.
It could be. I guess it just...
Because, remember how Luke was surprised to hear that he was getting mixed up in the rebellion. Like, wow, the rebellion? Like, this shit's
the rebellion
real?
against the Empire.
Yeah, he's like, wow, this actually is it?
And then, now that I think about it, like, he's when he's in the room or in, like, the garage where C-3PO is going through and having his oil bath, he is, basically, like, he has that little model of an Imperial lander that he's, like, fucking around with.
Yeah, it's his Skyhopper.
Yeah. T-15 Skyhopper, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was my take. I really think that he just wanted to be a pilot, and that was the only way to do it, was to join the Empire.
Yeah. I'd have to go back. Yeah, I guess I have to go back and listen to it more closely, because it was always like, I guess him talking about the Academy, referencing Biggs, and then going back like when he meets up with Obi-Wan and then has that like excited kind of response, like you know of the rebellion against the Empire. It seemed like to me like that's what he wanted to get into. Like he's like, oh shit.
No, I get it, but like from my stance is like, it was to me it was him just being surprised, like, wow, these people are combating against the Empire, which I want to go, learn how to fly with.
Yeah. I guess
anyways.
It's a good point. I didn't even think that was like okay.
Yeah,
cool.
We'll see if anyone listening, if you have your comments, please let us know. We'd love it. Yeah, so that was that on Harrison Ford. That, it was cool. The other article we got was some interview with Donald Glover, who's clearly playing Lando. And interesting here, I mean, Nick and I kind of already hit it on it, so I don't know if we have to go through much of this, but he does confirm that he and Leet do hang together and work together, but Leet is not a subservient droid like R2 or C-3PO. Leet's kind of her own droid.
Yeah, and that's not something until this.
We've never seen it, because even K2 was subservient to Cassian.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably as close as you could get to some sort of like fully autonomous droid, at least in the way that he acted and like his outward kind of mannerisms and stuff. But we have never seen anything like that, really. I mean, maybe outside
hey man, we've never seen a female
cartoons.
Droid.
Yeah, I mean, well, wasn't there? I don't know if this is. I thought that there was a female. I guess that there really can't be like a female C-3PO unit, but I thought that there was one somewhere that.
Oh,
was,
the Phantom Menace one.
What's her name? Yeah. I can't remember her designation, but the one in the very, very beginning.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I should know
it. Basically the one that comes into the Trade Federation heads and is like, oh, the ambassadors are Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Might be, but I don't know. For some reason, I even think in this article they mentioned that she's like one of the first.
Yeah.
Main female droid Star Wars characters.
Yeah. So, like you said, we kind of already touched on that. It's a really cool kind of new concept to have not only an autonomous droid, but also, an autonomous female droid who's made modifications to herself. Like you said, it's very impressive, like very advanced intelligence. I mean, everybody knows the lines from C-3PO, his intelligence level, his, 6.3 million different forms of communication and everything like that. But I don't think there was any kind of ability for 3PO to improve himself.
He's still, I mean, in the end, he's subservient. I mean, if you want to say it, he's a slave.
Yeah.
He does whatever his human owners tell him to do. Yeah. And Leet is not that type of droid. I mean, even R2, for as independent as he seems, still does whatever the fuck he's told to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, too, the way that Glover describes the relationship between him and Leet. The very first thing he says is I think they're both kind of self-made and they get each other that way. Lovingly contentious.
It's no different than Chewie and Han. I mean, it's the same dynamic. Lando's the pilot, Leet's the co-pilot of the Falcon. Yeah, which is
very cool.
That's one of the other interesting quotes we get from Glover is like he kind of explains the Falcon in this movie in the state. And he said it's so pimp that even in between like set takes, he would just chill in Lando's quarters on the Falcon because they were so like swanky.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of the interior shots now, and like, you're right, dude. I mean, he's right. It's a brand. It's built out to be a brand spanking new right off the spaceport fucking ship, and it looks fantastic on the inside. I don't know how much of it is easily functional or if it's comfortable or if it's just like made to look cool. But apparently from what Glover's saying, like it was pretty dope digs. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the Falcon in all its glory.
Yeah, because we even got a new shot from EW this week of Beckett on the Falcon sitting around the Dejarik table.
Yeah.
And even it looks even so different there. I mean, because that's where, that's an iconic part of the Falcon because that's where Luke was doing his lightsaber training with Obi, and Han was telling him, he's an old fool, and the Force is for dipshits.
Yeah, and that's when the table you have the scene between 3PO and
rip
Chewie
arms off.
playing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
And even the last quote here I thought was pretty great, because to me it shows why by the time we meet Lando in Empire Strikes Back that Lando's running essentially a planet where Han's still doing knick-knacky shit. And the quote's essentially saying that the way Han and Lando differ, the biggest way is that Lando actually likes rules because he likes to be able to take advantage of them, which makes sense for him, running the mining guild on Bespin. He's smart to get into that and get out of things like that, where Han's more of a rule breaker.
Yeah. So it's more like Lando thrives in structure because he's
like a politician. Like he takes advantage of the system.
Yeah, like I said in the trailer cast, like Lando is the smooth talker. Like he can talk his way out of any situation.
Exactly.
And that's why he thrives in rule sets, because the rules may apply to him, but he can talk his way around them. And then
he can still make his own rules with rules.
Yeah, exactly. And then with him being the leader, running this mining colony on Bespin, like not only do the rules that are in place kind of not apply to him because he made them, but like he controls them. So he's in a perfect system for himself until, the Empire comes and rears its nasty head. And Han really can't do that. Han's more of like a problem with authority kind of person. Like anytime he sees an authority, there's going to be an issue. And I feel like his ability to work within the rebellion in any sort of fashion, especially in a fashion that, he worked his way up to a general, was probably the first time in his life where he was in some sort of structured community, structured,
Well, I mean, that's for both of them. Both of them. Han got the early jump because they were already calling him Commander Solo by Empire Strikes Back. So
Yep.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think both of them finally understood that there is a reason to buy into a cause.
Yeah, and if I don't think that would have happened without the massive problem that was the Empire. Like if it was just like regional skirmishes or something,
the Empire would galvanize. Obviously for Lando, he clearly felt guilt over screwing over his acquaintance, we'll say, and Chewie. And he got fucked in the end by the Empire anyways, so he's got no love for him. Where Han, he just started to fall in love with people that hate the Empire. He clearly loved Luke and Leia in his own ways. That's why he became... The only reason Han cared about the rebellion was because of Luke and Leia.
Exactly.
That's it.
But he had, like he said in the movies, like he has no love for the Empire, and now we'll know why, because, he was in that structure. And then he got out, whether it be because...
Yeah, but in the end, he didn't agree with them, but he wasn't looking to pick a fight with them. The only reason he was ready to fight him is because he ended up really loving this farm boy and his sister.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it's going to be, especially with, this being confirmed as the first meeting between Han and Lando, seeing how the entirety of this relationship plays out over this film is going to be really cool. Seeing where they start, seeing where they end, how they get there and everything. It's gonna be a pretty cool evolution.
Yeah. So speaking of cool, one of the characters that both Nick and I said that now that we've seen her, this is almost where our focus is shifting towards, and that's Emilia Clarke's Kira. And we got more out of the actress through her EW article, and some of it we've already expanded on, so we're not going to go into it. She's confirmed that her and Han have known each other from a young age. And It sounds like at some point in time they're going to separate, mostly because she's better at assimilating with whatever crowd she needs to progress herself, right?
Yeah, she's almost like a chameleon, whatever she needs to fit into, and that's kind of like we talked about a little bit in the trailer cast. Is like she is, like you said, she's the femme fatale, but not just in that high society way. Like she can get rough and tumble if the situation calls
she's like it. Alias. I mean, she's like fucking Sydney from Alias, Jennifer Garner's character. I mean, she can be any character in any situation, as long as it's going to benefit herself. But the one thing, like I said, we did get from this is confirmation, and Nick and I were asking these questions during our analysis, was it really looks like these guys know each other. So what's going on here with these other shots? And now we know that, yes, they did know each other. So, Nick, what I'm proposing is we are going to see early scenes in the movie of them, kind of rough riding together. And then they're going to kind of go on their separate ways. And then Han's going to be reintroduced to her when Beckett's forming this super team to pull off this super heist.
Yeah, I think you were spot on in the trailer cast, calling out the opening kind of speeder chase on the industrial planet as like, an earlier part of their relationship where she looks younger. She's not dressed or really kind of made up the same way as when we see her later when she steps off the Falcon. I think you were dead on, and I think that's probably what we're going to see is like there's going to be some sort of diverging point in their early relationship, whether it be Han going off somewhere to a different planet and then Kira staying on Corellia or following a different path. And then, once Han seeks out Beckett for whatever they're going to be doing, like that is when Kira is going to come back in and kind of shake things up for him again.
Yeah, so, I mean, like I said, we've talked about a lot what she said. I mean, she reinforces the fact that the characters we're going to meet in this film are going to shape Han into the rogue we meet in A New Hope. So, I mean, I think that's been made pretty clear. Yeah. The other thing she mentions, what is this? Yeah, same shit. Where I think she's just hinting at that, and Nick and I kind of said at the beginning, where I mean, obviously these two are going to have some sort of love interest, but I think with what she says in this article, she's kind of hinting at the same thing we said earlier, is that there's going to be some sort of twist in their relationship, and I do think it's going to be Kira betraying Han.
Yeah. Like we said, there's nothing about these new characters in canon yet. We don't know. I mean, anytime we've gone into these spin-off movies, these Star Wars stories, our first assumption is that everybody we don't know is going to die. We said that about Rogue One. We were pretty spot on. And now we're kind of getting into the same sort of, I guess the same kind of cadence with Solo. I mean, aside from Lando and aside from Han and Chewie, we really don't know anybody. And Amelia Clarke bringing up this fact that her character is in some way going to betray Han, or something is going to happen within their relationship that's going to cause Han to, kind of second guess how he approaches relationships. Maybe with maybe with females in particular, but maybe with everybody. And I think that's kind of going to be reflected. And who knows, maybe at the end of this movie, she does kind of backstab him, but then try to come back, and maybe she finds herself in a situation where she's in a really precarious spot and Han tries to save her, and then she gets nixed, she gets caught by this Moloch guy and gets killed on while trying to escape, something like that. But there's definitely going to be some sort of big event between these two characters that's going to shape Han's relationships with the new Hope cast.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, I could see that where she betrays but comes back and in the end kind of saves him, but at the same time dies.
Yeah.
So it's still going to leave Han with the feeling like, you know what? It's not worth investing in these types of emotions, because it's not worth getting jerked around and then having someone you love end up dying.
Yeah, especially for a person.
You never see him again.
Yeah, especially for somebody like Han, who we were talking about earlier, who's really
he's a loner.
focused on
I mean, we know
himself.
he's a loner,
Yeah.
and all he wants to do is make sure that he can just be who he wants to be.
Yeah, like he wants to get eventually his and Chewie's to make sure that they're set. And then when you're dragging, well, in Kira's case, probably not dragging along somebody, but when you're tethered to somebody else,
Well, it
makes
it's
it
the
difficult.
fear of experiencing that pain again. And I'm a human. I can tell you right now, like, having a family and the thought of losing a family, and then having to find another one. I mean, it's devastating to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like losing my wife would destroy me. So
Yeah.
I mean, I could see I could see that for Han if that's the route they take, where he does love this lady and she either fucks him over or just dies in general. Yeah, that's just gonna be another wall for Han to put up when it comes to getting close to other people.
Yeah, and I think like they're not going to try to hide the romantic side of it, because one of the first quotes that you used in this article, she said there's obviously the romantic side of things.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be out there on Front Street. So to see how it progresses and to see what turn it takes to really sour his take on relationships moving forward is gonna be really cool to see.
Okay, the next one was Leet, but honestly, I think we've summed up all the main points. I mean, the biggest thing that this article revealed, we've already talked about, is that she literally modifies herself, and she is her own droid. She doesn't belong to Lando. She's his partner.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really what this article said. So there's not much to.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things was from John Kasdan. I think that's Larry's brother.
Oh no,
right?
son. It's
son,
father and son
Okay.
have written this movie, which I think is interesting and hopefully turns out pretty great.
Yeah, so I mean, he put it really well, just to kind of sum up the character of Leet, and he says that she's a complete individual. A complete individual in the galaxy.
Yeah, she's autonomous. She does not require human input to perform her functions.
Yeah, exactly. So, like we were comparing before to R2-D2 or to C-3PO, they need some sort of do this, like with R2, like here's this message, bring it to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And with C-3PO, he is etiquette and protocol for whoever he's around. Leet is for all intents and purposes, a person.
She's a character.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, she's just like Lando, except she's made of machine parts.
Yeah. So pretty cool.
I think Leet has potential to be a fantastic droid. I mean, I don't know if she'll capture the heights of C-3PO and R2 and even what BB-8's been able to capture, but even K-2SO. I mean, a good droid in a Star Wars movie is almost a staple, right? I mean, you have to have a droid that stands out as a star character.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we talked about it previously, like Rogue One would not be the same without K2, and his death by far was probably the most emotionally impactful.
It is. Even more so than Jyn or Cassian's, or even I would say it's probably K2, Chase, and then Jyn Cassian. And Chase, I mean Chirrut Baze.
Chirrut and Baze, yeah.
That's what we call them in Galaxy Heroes, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the Chase combo, just like there's the Wiggs combo.
Wedge and Biggs, baby.
Yeah.
They wreck me every time in Squad Arena.
Wiggs and Chase with a little Commander Luke, dude. Get out.
Unstoppable.
Yep.
Chirrut is just so annoying at high level. God, man.
He's awesome, man.
He is. He's really good.
But, I mean,
yeah,
you guys know what we're talking about. I mean, droids are just as important as the human characters in Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. They're integral to the
I mean,
Star
look
Wars
at
universe.
Chopper on Rebels. I mean, he's another one. He literally stands out because of his... Chopper is probably the most ornery droid of the bunch. I mean, he's literally an asshole. I mean, he is an asshole droid.
To go back to Galaxy Heroes for a second, like I'm building up my Phoenix squad, and I was looking at it, I was like, so... Is it possible to build a decent Phoenix squad without Chopper?
No, you need them all. You need them all.
Yeah.
You have to do all six, even though you...
Well, you can flip out you could probably flip out Ezra for Sabine and vice versa. Like, those are probably the two that are
But
interchangeable. But
he's still a quality enough Jedi that worth building up. I mean, you need to max all the Phoenix guys. They're fantastic characters.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't get past it.
Yep. So again, go play that game. People, it's free.
All right. So free. Next article, and this was a fun one because it focused on what they called the Rogues Gallery. So these are kind of the shadier characters that Han's gonna meet in this movie, and really the first one they start with is Tobias Beckett, who's played by the great Woody Harrelson. And we don't really have to go into much on Tobias. We already know that this is going to be the mentor for Han. I think the interesting thing that came out of this, and it's something we already mentioned, which is why we don't have to go into it, is that it's made clear that it's not Beckett searching out Han, which kind of Nick and I hinted at, like maybe they were looking at Han because he was a pilot. This is more, it sounds like Han's going to be the one approaching Beckett to get into Beckett's graces to maybe get some sort of big score. And it makes sense now because we already heard that Beckett pretty much puts him on a test mission.
Yeah. So that seems to make the most sense. Being the mentor and then also being an established name within the underworld, of course Han would seek out somebody like that. Almost to like as a way to make his bones.
Exactly. Kind of like if I attach myself to this guy, my name's going to grow exponentially in this world.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do in the underworld, solo jobs and stuff by yourself before you really need to step up to the big leagues. And this is kind of Han's first step up into the big leagues. Like, he's going to a guy who he knows is successful and he knows he can use to, make his name off of. And that's pretty cool. And
so that was the most interesting revelation, I thought, because even as much as it's through the trailers, I was like, well, maybe Beckett kind of finds this kid and takes a liking to him, but it really makes it sound like Han, I mean, they even say he ingratiates himself onto Beckett, like, dude, give me a fucking chance, like, give me a chance.
Yeah. And I think it was cool too that breaking down these rogues gallery of characters that we when we get to Thandie Newton's character Val, who we probably know least about up until this point,
but we got a very interesting quote.
Yeah, just kind of how she is pretty much like the right hand gal to Beckett, and then also
not like a
full
on partner, but a partner in crime. Like it sounds like they work together regularly.
Yeah, exactly.
And they essentially say that, I think this is Kasdan, the son, John, saying, she doesn't really have total faith in Han.
No,
which,
definitely.
As he clarifies, as a lot of people he meets in his life necessarily don't have either. So, I mean, even when Obi-Wan and Luke meet him, they don't have faith in his ship. They don't have faith in his skills, and they don't have faith when he's trying to get away that he's going to be able to punch in the hyperdrive coordinates.
Yeah. And I think one of the cool things.
Well, yeah. Finish the quote.
Yeah, it says, at first glance, Val doesn't necessarily have total faith in Han, as a lot of people he meets in his life tend to feel about him. She's a little skeptical of this kid when she meets him, and her relationship with him goes in, and then he kind of like stutters a little bit, I think, in interesting direction.
There it is, right there. I mean, what the fuck does that mean? I mean.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't think it's a love interest, because I think that's clearly going to be with Kira. Could this be like a betrayal?
Could it be it could be a betrayal?
Because I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, if you remember, there was like some rumblings on the internet when Ron released one of his patented set pics. Like, he was trying to cover up an insignia on Thandie's shoulder that was clearly an Imperial insignia.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, could she be a betrayer? I don't get what an interesting direction means.
Yeah, I mean, that quote in tandem with that screen, that set pick and the rumors around it, it does make for an interesting kind of situation, especially if she is an Imperial spy unbeknownst to even Beckett. because not only does that change the situation with Han and how she treats him, but it also just flips everything on its head when it comes to what's going on with the deal. I mean, we've seen this giant Star Destroyer coming out of this, this Nexus, this whatever the fuck it was, this space storm. Could that be called in by Val? Like, hey, we got him. Right. Here it is.
See, because, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, but at this point, I think we're going to see two main heists in this film. There's going to be the Han prove myself heist, and then there's going to be the big one that Beckett is assembling this team for. Yeah.
I think that's I think we may have hit on that a little bit in the trailer cast, and I really do think that's what it's going to be built around. I think we might have like a fade to black, like 3 years later moment in here, or at least a time jump between these two jobs, because there's going to be some separation of time. There's going to be some.
You would hope. I mean, I've never seen a Star Wars movie make that big of a leap, though.
Yeah. I don't. To me, it would make more sense, though, because if you're gonna have it, this would be
a movie they could get away with it. I think. I mean, I don't think this has to be a movie where you feel like you're watching this tight pacing of events. I mean, you could have a swath of time skipped.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really, I would love. In the end, I want this movie to end with him getting fucking boarded by the Empire, dumping a fucking spice shipment. But that's me.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're butting right up against the New Hope there.
Exactly. Like, he's almost wearing the fucking vest and cream-colored collared shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's right there.
But we're not going to get it. So the last character, Nick, that they kind of flesh out in this, and this is one that we talked about when Howard released the set pic, and it was a set pic of Bettany, and he was kind of wearing, like, this regal thing, and it almost looked like a samurai robe. But it turns out he's playing Dryden Voss, who is essentially the godfather of the criminal world at this point in time. And the quote is, he is way deeper in the crime world than anyone else that we meet in the movie.
Yeah, he's, like you said, he's the godfather, he is the guy that everybody goes to.
Right, but I don't, they kind of set it up to where in the Star Wars underworld at least, it's not like a guy like Dryden.
It's not like a mafia.
Yeah, it's not like he owns people. It's not like Beckett is his capo or a lieutenant or something. It sounds more like Beckett's still his own man, but he's going to go to Voss to get the big gigs.
Yeah, it's almost like he is the funnel for all underworld intelligence.
Exactly. Like he's the guy that's going to get you the big paying jobs.
Yeah, so he knows the people, and he knows the jobs, and he knows the galaxy enough to give you what you need to make the big score.
And I think his location is the one that we've seen where it's that gold dancer dancing, and it's kind of that regal looking club. I'm pretty sure that they're going there to meet with Dryden to line up the big score.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And just for Star Wars fans, like hardcore fans out there, Quinlan Voss, you put it in your recap post, not related.
Yeah, that
Quinlan
confirmed.
Voss is a Jedi from the Old Republic.
It's not Quinlan's brother. They're not related. It's just a coincidental last name mix up.
And dude, I'm a huge fan of Paul Bettany as an actor too. I mean, I love the dude's work, not only his Vision, but in other movies, like even going back as far as like Wimbledon.
Yeah, I think he'll play a good crime, like Star Wars crime boss, like that kind of that chill demeanor he brings. I mean, I feel like that's Paul Bettany's thing, is kind of that just chill, almost monotone type, but not, still very emotionally charged delivery, but very just chill, like stoic shit.
Yeah, just like if you've never seen A Knight's Tale and the character that he plays in that movie, he's just so, like you said, he's sly, and like the way he talks, he may not have a lot of, well,
even as he plays Vision, I mean, it's kind of the same deal. I mean, he keeps that almost monotone feel, but it's not emotionless. It's almost like perfect delivery with emotion.
Yeah. I mean, his character becoming full flesh in Infinity War is going to be pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, and he is replacing someone. They did explain, like, he did replace another actor, and the only reason is because of the director mix-up in the reshoots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they had somebody else playing Dryden,
another guy shot the Dryden scenes like it was booked.
Wow.
But because of, the shakeup and the reshoots, and this guy was already committed to another project, and he couldn't come back for him, they had to bring in Bettany.
I mean, to have Bettany as your fallback's pretty strong.
Yeah, it's
though.
like, I feel like that's Howard calling in a fucking favor type of deal.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to, pick up the phone and have it be Ron Howard who's working on a Star Wars movie and say, like, nah, I don't think I have the time. Bye.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not sure, like, how
time.
many younger people understand who Ron Howard really is, though.
Yeah, it's just like we keep saying,
the
breadth
this guy
of his work.
He's grown up Hollywood. I mean, his whole early life was an actor, and then he went to USC to study film and became a director that has already, made some of the best
Oscar-winning
movies ever.
films.
I mean, has he won it? I mean, is he an Oscar winner?
Yeah.
Did he won for Apollo?
I don't think he won for Apollo. I think he won for something else. We looked it up at one point, but I'll take another look at it. Let's see. Ron Howard Wikipedia page. Film and television awards and nominations. He won. Let's see.
He probably at least
Beautiful Mind, Best Picture and Director.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go.
And then nominated multiple other times. Nominated Frost Nixon, Best Picture Director, 2009.
Yeah. I mean, and by the way, those are the biggest nominations you can get from the Academy.
Yeah. I mean, like, if we're just going back, like, he was nominated for an Emmy for...
He's probably been in Hollywood for almost 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the breadth. Like, he worked on the TV show, the animated TV show, Curious George. He won an Emmy for that in 2008 and 2010. Let's see what else.
Narrator on Arrested Development.
Yep. And then he also did, I mean, going back, Happy Days, 1978.
American Graffiti,
Apollo
what
13.
George Lucas's first major movie besides, THX was a student project, but
yeah. I mean, Best Director nominations for Golden Globes for Apollo 13 and Beautiful Mind. Best Actor, won Best Actor for his work in Happy Days, 1978. I mean, this is going back, people. I mean, we're in the mid-70s, late 70s.
Yeah,
there,
so we might as well just get into our next piece. And this is one I just kind of cherry-picked a nugget out of. There's actually a full article that I recommend you reading, but kind of the ultimate, the final piece of EW's coverage was talking with Ron Howard, who is, as we know, the new director of Solo Star Wars Story, who took over for, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Or Phil Miller and Chris Lord. I mean, I never can get.
I transpose those names all the time, but it's Miller and Lord for sure.
Yeah, there you go, those guys. But anyways, they just kind of talked about Ron, and the way they did, they kind of time jumped through his career, and they started with, Ron was an actor on American Graffiti, which was Lucas's first, kind of studio movie, and it was on that project that Lucas kind of told Ron, like, I'm going to do this thing. And he didn't really call it Star Wars yet. He was just kind of explaining, like, it's kind of like Flash Gordon, but it's not. It's going to be fast. He's like, it's going to have, like, the effects of 2001, but it's going to be fast. So, I mean, I thought it's a really neat article. But really what I kind of picked out of it was the fact that George ended up essentially directing a scene in Solo.
Yeah, which is... For all you people out there who've been fucking signing the petitions,
it's crazy.
Get George Lucas back in the director's chair. Here it is. He directed a scene in Solo, and you want to break it down for him, Matt. Tell him how he came about to direct the scene.
Yeah. So I mean, him and Ron are they're close. I mean, It's almost like a mentor relationship, as Ron explains it. I mean, obviously they're not that different in age, but they're far enough that Ron looks up to George and clearly respects him for what he created with Star Wars. So he invited him to the set of Solo, like the first day Ron was shooting. And basically Kathleen Kennedy kind of recounted the story and said he had intended just to kind of stop by and say hi. He ended up staying 5 hours. There's even one little moment in a scene that I can't tell you what, sorry. basically she can't reveal the scene. But in the scene on the Millennium Falcon where George said, "Why doesn't Han just do this?" She then went on to elaborate. It actually is a funny little bit that will probably get a laugh, and Ron happened to be on by the monitor, not inside the Falcon, and he goes, "Oh, that's a great idea," and ran in and said, "George wants us to do this." So that was pretty cool. I think George felt pretty great about that. He could revisit these characters, and I think he felt so comfortable, obviously with Ron being there, that it was just fun for him. I mean, George provided direction to this movie.
Yeah.
No matter how you want to slice it, he gave the director an opinion. The director used it. Therefore, he provided direction.
Yeah, and it's more than direction, in my opinion. It's insight.
It's sage advice. I mean, George, as much as we want to pick on him for the prequels, and he did shame us a bit, in the end, I will never hate this man. I will always hold him in reverence. He's brilliant. I mean, for what he created, he's a freaking genius. I mean, this guy will be studied just like Shakespeare.
Yeah,
same type of guy.
Alongside of, Joseph Campbell and
same type of guy.
The great architects of stories.
Our storytellers are going to be movie creators and comic book people versus people writing poems and plays. I mean, those are our story, and he's going to be one of those legendary story writers if humans exist for another 100 years.
Dude, can you imagine what that was like on the set? Like, I don't know who was in the scene. I would imagine it was Alden, but like when Ron comes in, like to give direction, and like you're like, okay, Ron's got something to tell us. Big enough because Ron Howard is who he is in Hollywood.
Like he got up from the monitor, like he thought it was big enough to like move from his director's chair, watching the scene play out, to actually go in and direct.
Yeah, and then
use advice from George himself.
Yeah, for the actors, they'd be like, "Oh shit, George Lucas just direct, like he told us like what to do here." I mean, that's got to be a pretty. And cool
I think
moment.
what makes it special is the fact that it's direction for Han.
Yeah,
it wasn't George trying to change a scene. It was just Han should do. Basically, why isn't Han doing this? Because that is what Han would do.
Yeah,
and he is the guy that would know what Han wanted to do.
Do you think? I mean, Kathleen says that she can't tell what scene it was, but do you think it could be one of those moments like we saw in the trailer where I think he turns around, and he's like, "I told you, I got it."
Yeah, I even thought that myself today when I read this. Is like, I really think that could be the scene we've already seen where he's turned around going, "You thought we were in trouble? Don't worry, I got it." And he's like, "Oh shit," because I mean that is clearly exactly how Han behaved in Empire Strikes Back. I mean, the whole movie, like, hey, chill, I got it, even though we're ramming into fucking asteroids. But I got it. Oh, now I landed in a worm's mouth. I got it. We're going to get out. I got the hyperdrive. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, like, don't worry. We're going to attach to this Star Destroyer and then float off like the other
we're going to pretend like we're trash.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. And like you said, man, like, for all of the gripes that we have about the prequels, George Lucas is forever going to be that
George Lucas
iconic.
Is George fucking Lucas. We don't have what Disney's making now without George. I mean, don't ever get me wrong on that. I heavily disagree with his visions for 1, 2, and 3. I really think he made a lot of wrong choices for whatever reason. And that's my opinion. No one's going to ever convince me that those are good movies. And you're not going to convince me that Revenge of the Sith is redeeming in any sense. I think it's probably the second worst. First worst is Clones, and probably the best to me is Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But none of them are good. They're just not good. And his special edits are even worse to me.
Yeah, he kind of went on a tear there where he was just... I think what happened was he was so consumed with the ability
of what he could do.
Like
he realized like how much power he had in the creation of film and filmmaking, and you got to respect him for that. I mean, this guy throughout his career has revolutionized Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean
ILM changed the game.
That's exactly where I was going. Is like what we have to realize is like a lot of stuff that we've seen George Lucas do on film before wasn't even possible before he did it.
He invented
and before
a
ILM,
lot of shit.
Yeah, like before ILM and before George Lucas came up with these ideas and these processes, it couldn't be done. So I mean,
as much as we hate him, Jar Jar Binks was the first fully CGI main character in movie history.
Yeah, I mean,
like a main character the entire time was computer generated, and that's because of George Lucas. Yeah. And love him or hate him, and that spawned, millions of other, not millions, but hundreds of other characters.
That essentially gave Andy Serkis his career.
It was the green light.
Serkis,
I mean, Jar Jar Binks was the green light for directors around the world. Like, okay, I can start doing this shit that I've had in my head that I know we could have never done with just a human.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there were so many moments that came about in film because George Lucas proved it could be done.
Yeah, so
like
the best part of the prequels is that it advanced filmmaking. It didn't do much for the Star Wars narrative, but it advanced filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that people like J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, all of these directors, maybe not Ryan to a specific degree, but all of the directors who use heavy
Nick hates
CG,
Rian Johnson, by the way.
I don't. He's just not a heavy CG guy. Prior to Last Jedi, he was never like super CG like JJ was, or like Zack Snyder is, and stuff like that.
Oh my God, but Snyder.
George opened the door to directors like that and showed them like, hey, you can make movies that don't require real things.
Right.
Like you
He's
can
like, basically the shit
want.
you guys used to see when you were tripping balls, you can now make.
Exactly, and I think Zack Snyder does that
he took it too literally, because that's all he does now.
Yeah, I mean, he had a nice mix.
He's almost like Bayham at this point. Like, he's just like, let's just CG explosion the fuck out of everything.
Yeah, he's gone overboard. Maybe George needs to have a talk with him and be like, hey, I know that I showed you that you could do this, but maybe not so much. Like, take it down a notch.
Yeah, he's like, hey, it's just a tool.
Yeah, but after reading this article and after seeing that George still has the desire and the love,
of course. I mean, come on, man. I mean, how could he not? I know he's probably salty, and in the end, and I don't blame him. I mean, it'd be like if someone took my kid and just turned her into something that they wanted her to be.
Yeah.
So I understand the guy, but in the end, I'm like, dude, you still made $4 billion, so I don't feel that bad for you. But of course he's gonna just be like a little kid on the Solo set.
Yeah. I think there is a spot for him, though. I don't even know if he wants to be involved. I mean, I don't know the dynamics between the relationships, but I think the perfect spot for Lucas in the new Star Wars era is as a character consultant.
For standalones tied to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, I mean, for the characters that he created and for the universe that he started, as long as we're in that kind of era and in the area with those characters still, that's where his niche is being a character consultant.
But I mean, do you not fear now with all these new announcements of trilogies here and trilogies there, movies there and movies here, and this timeline, and it's wide open? Do you feel like they're abandoning the standalones at this point?
I don't know if they're abandoning the standalones. I think that they've realized that the standalones have a lot more potential, and they're turning what would probably be standalones into larger series of films.
Because, I mean, I still think they can make a pretty penny on a Fett, clearly on the Vader. I mean, Jesus Christ, they could do a trilogy Vader.
Yeah, I think there's still money
the
to be
Kenobi
made.
that has never been officially confirmed, that's one. Yoda. I mean, dude, you could squeeze so many fucking standalones out of, like, the Skywalker material. But I think that's where George would come into play. I think the other stuff just leave them alone. I mean, let the new guys cook up their own stories.
Yeah, exactly. I think another good standalone that could be had now that the relationship was revealed in Episode 8 is one that goes into the youth of Princess Leia, and that also includes Amilyn Holdo.
Of course, you could do just like young Han, a young Leia. I mean,
yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be had there. I mean, the formation of the rebellion, the interworkings of her being a senator and being a leader of the rebellion and, how it was formed, the first strikes and, being able to see the first missions that the rebellion ran. I mean, there's a lot to be had there. There's a lot to be had everywhere in the Star Wars universe, still connected to the Skywalker family and the Skywalker saga of films.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, that's bread and butter for George, and I'd have no problem with if they gave him like this fake director's chair just to sit there and kind of chill.
Yeah, I mean,
because I think every once in a while he would probably have a brilliant insight. Like, no, I mean, I know these characters. I fucking made them, and that's what they would do.
Yeah, I mean, Leia wouldn't do that. Leia would do this, or this is how she would handle a situation.
And they'd get up,
like
and he'd
this.
be like, wee, 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 and they'd be like, George, chill, bro.
It's like, yeah, look, man, we're not gonna CGI a fucking monkey in here for no reason.
Like,
it's just no.
Calm down, buddy.
We'll handle the effects. You handle the
Jar
character.
Jar is poor, and he lives on the streets of fucking Mos Eisley begging.
Yeah, he is a beggar now. We have to let him go. I mean, I mean, the whole article is great. Like I said, I recommend anyone out there check out all these EW pieces were actually pretty well done. But the one with Howard, there was a lot more than what we talked about. But I just wanted to pick out that part about George because, hey, I mean, it's fucking George. And it's George providing some directorial advice for Solo, which to me makes perfect sense. Pretty fucking cool.
So, I mean, it's been an action-packed 7 days, dude. I mean, from this time when we were recording last week, we were still speculating on potential trailer times and their drops and lengths. We got 2 of them. They were 2 distinct trailers. We got some posters that were really different for the Star Wars universe. We got the DB and the David announcement doing Star Wars movies, which who the hell knows what that means. And then we got the EW explosion on Solo. So it ended up being a very action-packed week of Star Wars.
I think this is probably, it's funny to think, too, that in the Solo time period, we've done 3 podcasts in a week.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's already beating The Last Jedi in terms of coverage. So it went from being a complete mystery to just basically fire hoses down our faces.
Yeah, this crazy week.
But I'm not complaining because it's always a good time to speculate on some, new Star Wars stuff. And I am definitely inspired and intrigued by what we've seen so far from Solo. I mean, I'm ready for it. I do think there's potential there, especially out of what we got from the cast this week through the EW interviews. There's potential for a good story. It just depends if it was executed the right way.
Yeah, and I'm starting to get more of a feeling that it probably will be. Like, getting to know a little bit more about, from the actors, from the director, just more stories from the set, and then seeing the trailers. My confidence level in this movie is slowly picking up. So, whereas before I'm like, this could be the first film to come under $1 billion, I still think that's possible.
Yeah.
But if it kills, like if it comes in and I watch that movie, I'm like, oh shit, this is great, then I think it could carry. Because there's a lot of people in Star Wars land that love Han Solo specifically.
I mean, if it kills, at this point, we essentially just have to approach every new Star Wars property with the fact that this is going to be a fantastic hit, and anyone that thinks it's not going to be is dumb.
Full faith in Mother Disney.
Exactly. I mean, we're going to have to become essentially zig, that type of stuff. Like, yes.
Yeah,
buy
the mouse ears.
Yes, Father Mouse. Yes, Father Mouse.
You got to you got to go to Disney with your family, and you all got to get the hats with your names on the back of them.
Ich bin Mickey ears. Yeah.
Oh man, dude, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually really hyped. I mean, we're like we've been saying, the countdown is real. We're less than 3 months out.
It'll be here before you know it. And we got some good movies to help pass the time. I mean, next week we got Panther coming out, which I'm expecting to be phenomenal. So
strong.
We got
too.
Pacific Rim in March. April, I'm sure something's coming out worth watching. Maybe Annihilation, which with Padme. So May's going to be here before you know it.
And then May is like fucking down your throat.
Yeah, we got Infinity, and then it closes with Solo. I mean, come on.
Yeah. and then you tumble right into Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, which I gotta say, dude, that trailer, I thought it looked pretty cool.
It looked better. It still seems like they're trying to recreate Jurassic Park 2.
Yep,
which makes sense because, you know, Jurassic World was Jurassic Park.
But dude, fucking Chris Pratt has a dinosaur dog. Like, do you remember the scene where it's like he calls Blue into like the bedroom?
Yeah, in the end, I mean, Pratt's still Pratt in everything he does. Like, he's literally the same guy, but I love him.
Yeah.
I mean, Star-Lord is the same guy as, you know, the dude on Parks and Rec. He's the same guy as the dude on Jurassic World.
It's Andy. Yeah. Andy, Owen, and Star-Lord are all very similar
all the
characters.
same dude. Yeah. I mean, what was his FBI agent on Parks?
Burt Macklin.
Yeah, Burt Macklin. Yeah, Burt Macklin's probably more like Star-Lord, but hey.
Yeah.
All right, people. Hey, you know what we're going to do. We'll be back next week with a new episode of Star Wars Time talking God knows what. I mean, I don't know if they could really squeeze any more of Solo out at this point in time. I doubt it. I think we're probably going to get a little bit of hiatus, but as Nick and I said, look for a new full trailer probably coming towards the end of March, and, you know, we'll be there to talk about that. But either way, even if we don't get Solo, we'll be coming at you next week to talk something Star Wars. So, in between now and then, may the Force be with you, always.
EntertainmentMover.com